Let's get started. So we're going to start with the steering damper. Now that I got the steering damper off, you might notice I put screws back to where they came from, okay? Early when I got this bike, this screw was a little loose, so I had tightened it up. But when I went to take this apart, as you can see, this is loose, and this bolt here that holds on the little knuckle piece that tightens up it really wasn't that tight. So I'm gonna go back with blue Loctite and I'm putting all the shit back together. When I put all this stuff back together. Alright, so with the steering damper and everything removed, looks like we got another bolt here. Oh yeah, got to take the seat and stuff off too. We'll take this bolt off and see what we got up underneath here. It's a few connections to be disconnected, but alright, so using the seat for kickstand. Now we got access to the airbox, which is dirty as hell. It looks like we got a connection here, the fuel line, and this hose coming down, I think, out of the tank here is like a trash line. There's no pressure on there. I think it goes down here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so it just drains off trash. So we'll disconnect the fuel line. We can just leave that attached. And so let me get some paper towels. And let's disconnect the sensor over here. Looks like we got one plug-in. So we'll disconnect the sensor here. We'll leave this trash line that dumps overworked trash out. We'll leave that attached and just run it. It just runs down here. And we'll disconnect the fuel line on the other side. It's this kind of shit that's really frustrating. It's this kind of stuff that's really frustrating. There's you gotta push in on this side. You gotta push in on 3 sides on a little bitty ass hole you can barely get your fingers around. So I'm gonna break these tabs so I can get this damn thing off. And I don't know how to get it off. Frustrated. Alright, so using my dikes, I cut the little mechanism off on that side and that side and just have that one to deal with. 1 second. Alright, moving on. Alright, so now I'm gonna take off this fuel line, and this is where it's gonna get interesting. It's pretty dirty up in here. So I'm gonna try to detail as I go along. I'll pull these pieces out individually. Alright, so now that we got access to the air box, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, with the bolts removed, what do we find? Bugs up in there. I'm going to take the whole air box out and just clean all this out. But here's a new one. Kawasaki parts. Alright. We'll get back. Okay, so It's like 8mm Allen head to get the airbox out, but a 3/16 work because I need the long extended ones, long extended Allen wrenches with a little wiggle, wiggle, wiggle action. I get the first ram air duct removed. It's just all rubber, so I'm gonna pull the other one out. Just pull it through the airbox. Pull it through the airbox out this way. And as you can see, they're covered with dirt, grime. Even the inside have a little dust build up, dirt build up in there. So I'm gonna clean all this out before I put everything back together. And again, look at the bugs, and I'm cleaning the whole airbox out. All right, so this is what it looks like with the right and left ram air ducts removed that go into the airbox. Looks like we got a connection here, and we'll remove the airbox. With that sensor removed, there's also a hose at the bottom of the airbox. And I think we can get this out. That bottom hose has a screen on the inside there. We might change out the intake baffles, but that'll be later on. Alright, so I got the airbox off, and it's drying. I cleaned it, it's drying now. I look down in this intake and it's just hideous. So I'm gonna clean this up. It's a lot of build up. You can't really see it with this camera, but I wiped this one out right here, and I'm just like, wow. So I'm gonna get some cotton balls and alcohol, and do what I can to get this clean as possible. Like I say, my airbox is drying. Got it clean, no more bugs. My ram ducts all cleaned out. I wasn't worried about the outside, but the inside, I think you can see it now with the camera. But anyway, all the buildup and gunk that was inside of there. Alright, so now that looks a lot better. So to get to these spark plugs, I already started to loosen these 3 bolts to take that off, but I might as well start on this side because I still got to take my fairing off, and then I'll replace these fairing bolts with the Wimoto orange fairing bolts until my new fairing kit comes in. Alright, we're matching all the way around now. Side fairing, middle fairing, and lower fairing on both sides. Alright, so let's get this bracket off of here so we can see what's up underneath here. Alright, so with that the outer motor support removed, the upper one, you got to remove the 2 bolts up underneath there. Then you got to pull that out. That's got to be pulled out so you have enough room to get this out, the coil. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, alright, and remove the spark plug, and work my way on over from there. Alright, with the first plug removed, we're going to replace these, and look at that. Is that nasty or what? I don't know how many miles on the spark plug, but let me show you what the new one looks like. We're going with the NJK Iridium spark plugs. To give a comparison, the old to the new. Still NJK, but I'm going with the Iridium this time instead of the, I guess they must have used platinum. Alright, we got the new one installed over here. I put a little oil around there. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall and get this side back together. The fairing's missing, but you know what I'm saying. I put the motor supports back in place, the top one, put the other 2 in, and then put the middle one in there, and then start on the rest of it. That goes down in there. there's a mark on here that shows you the direction the coil should point out when you plug it back in once it's seated. It's pointed straight to where it should be pointed at. Start on the other one. Alright, now that I got this spark plug loose, it was kind of loose, it really wasn't even tight in there, but we'll make sure it's tight when we go back in. Alright, so that's how it looks when you dog your bike. And this is the reason why you should probably change your spark plug from time to time. The same thing with this spark plug. You'll see down on there, if you can see, there's a dash mark that shows you which way to point it in, where you plug in the ignition coil. Plug that back in. That's all the way down. And then plug that back in. Alright, and then we'll move on to this one and then to the outside. Save the best for last. Alright, going for this third one. There's a bunch of stuff in the way here. Trying to get to this one here. So let's disconnect this so we can get this harness out of the way. And then we can disconnect the coil and pull the coil out. Try to finish up here real quick before the sun comes up. We got the third spark plug out, and it's in just as good a shape as the other two. Fouled out. I can't get a good damn. I wish I could get a better. That's probably about the best view, right? I think. Looks like it's fouled out. Alright, so do not fuck up like I did and try to put the bracket back before you put the coil back. There's also a line. This time you can't see it for real, but there's a notch showing which way that points to. Once you get the coil back in with the bracket out the way, then plug it back in and install the bracket. Jesus Christ. We got all the coil slots plugged back in. The I don't know, whatever that is, this is all attached back. That's all plugged back in. That's all plugged back in. Everything's all plugged back in. Getting ready to put the air box back on after I put my outside bracket, motor mount brackets on the other side on. Get those on, and we'll put it all back together. Alright, looks like we got motor supports back together on this side, and the motor supports back together this side as well. We're missing a bolt up here, couldn't get it back in. Also lost the Allen wrench behind inside the frame. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But we did get the spark plugs changed out. I guess now, after putting this back on, I can probably put the fairing back on and store the assembly in the air box. Alright. Got the outside middle fairing back on. Went with the orange fairing bolts, so I get the new ones. Went ahead and threw those nice, fresh and clean Ram air ducts back up in there. I just pulled them Ram air ducts back out. It's gonna be impossible to get this air box in there because it's gotta get that funky ass angle. And then I have to reinstall all that. Alright, now that we got the air box back installed, we'll install all those bolts. Let's get the Ram air ducts back in. Alright, so we got one back in, Ram air duct, one Ram air duct left. I'm gonna tell you right now, I got your boy strained up. It's hard as hell to wiggle this rubbery piece up. I'm gonna go to the gym, man, so I'll tell you what. Putting them air ducts in, you better put your grappling skills to work. All right, so finally, after getting all the bolts back in, got the air ducts cleaned up, the air box cleaned out. All right, that's nice and fresh. We got a air filter to install. All right, so we got a brand new air filter in there. Know that we have shit that we can clean these air filters up with, but this K&N is busted at the seams. When you got a big bust in the seam like that, you don't want to be reusing that shit, whether you can get it clean or not. Plus, it just get the change out your filter, man. Just change it, put a new filter in. But for now, that's an original air filter part. That's changed out on this day. That's what's on the odometer. Of course, this was changed at 42,000. So this is supposed to be 4,000 miles plus on this bike. We'll see. But I'm getting ready to take it up to the tune stage on the Power Commander. As soon as I get this shit back together, we're bringing out the laptop and turning it back up to the second stage. Man, that was a workout right there. Alright, with the airbox installed, airbox cover installed. I just leave the gas tank and the stand damper. Alright, so we got our electrical to the tank hook back up. We also got our fuel line to the gas tank hook back up. Gotta tighten up that screw. Put the seats back on, the steering damper. That's it. I think everything is done. Steering damper. To hook up the laptop and show you what this Power Commander is all about. First, you gotta have a Power Commander. Power Commander 3. You're gonna have to have a laptop. You're gonna have to have one of these USB connections to go into the Power Commander. You know what? Let me just fire up the bike, and I think I'm supposed to open map file. Because either way, however you want to look at it, I'm getting ready to put this tune, this KWP custom tune, back on the custom tune. So, as you look at these air fuel ratios and everything, when I get the bike fired up, you see the fuel change and all that good stuff. So let me just get out of here. Alright, so now I got the Power Commander hooked up. Get the battery. Now I got the Power Commander hooked up. You can see that we got some stuff going on over here to show you the I would say device not communicating. Alright, so I'll turn the throttle over. Alright, so when you do that, then it's got device, the serial number. It still says not communicating. Once you see the serial number, you know that you got some shit going on there. Alright, so I opened up KWP custom tune. to this particular table. You can see what the duty cycle and all that's doing now. I'm getting ready to send that map, and when I send it, you should see changes in the fuel change and the duty cycle to reflect this stuff here. The map said successfully. Damn it! Just lost my damn chin again. Alright, so now with the power commander hooked up, with that KV. Now we got a fuel change. The -4 duty cycle stay the same, but a fuel change. So whatever that does to the fuel change and all that, we set back to where it was when I first started. So let's go do a pull real quick and see how we ride. Won't be able to tell what's going on here, but they've been racing down here, so there's some good traction down here. You won't be able to see what's going on, but I just done the change up and everything. I don't even know if you can hear me, but listen to this. You don't really understand what it was tight.